Hello guys and welcome back to the Traitors, and today we are on season 2 episode 10 of New Zealand. And guys, you told me that the second half of this season was gonna bang episode after episode after episode, and you have not disappointed me so far, so I am very happy with you guys right now. You guys have proven yourself. You know what, you're trustworthy. I'll allow it, it's all good. I genuinely didn't expect this episode to go the way it did. I was in shock. I was in horror. I didn't expect it at the end. The person who was banished in this episode was the person I thought was going to win the show, just from the way they were being edited. Genuinely crazy behavior. So I am super excited to jump straight into this. If you guys are enjoying, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Please do all of that. And let's get going. So you might be wondering, who was the person that won the chance to be in the Traitors turret? Was it Kat? Was it Ben? It was Ben. I was shocked. I was genuinely shocked and surprised. I didn't expect it. I thought they would have gone for Kat, but then I think Kat would have declined it. I actually genuinely do. Especially after all of this blackmail talk with Ciale. I think Kat would have declined it. So Ben was the smart option. Personally, I would have gone for somebody like Jason. I would have got Jason in there as well. Ciale is one of his allies, so it would have been good to have another one of them in there. But equally, they could have teamed up on Bailey. So maybe I'm not so for that idea. So Ben is now in the turret, and I have to say, he was genuinely shocked to see that the traitors were Ciale and Bailey. He literally said, "Bailey, I did not think you were a traitor. You could have gone all the way to the end with me, and I would have been final two of you, and I would have genuinely still believed that you were faithful." And she was like, "Well, that's just because I'm doing a good job." I'm like, "Bestie, you've been on the job 2 days. 2 days. Literally 2 days. Jane got axed a day and a half ago. Let's chill. Okay, let's chill it. All right." So, either way, very exciting. Very cool times. Let's head into breakfast. So, breakfast was a tough one. Ben is now having to navigate the fact that he has come hard after Ciale at the round table. And now he's working with Ciale as a traitor. But he can't exactly just 180 pivot away from Ciale because that would look suspicious. So therefore, he's having to drop subtle hints without them being too subtle. And he does this with Jason. Jason wants to know, look, listen, I've got my blinkers on. Tell me why you think it is Ciale. And he explains like, hey, there's just some things that didn't add up. There are certain behavioural patterns that have changed and things like that. And I'm thinking, okay, he's keeping it vague enough. He's not going in for a full-on attack. He's just saying, it's just a hunch I have, etc, etc. He's keeping it on the D-low, which is good. And then Jason, in a confessional, basically says, I've been noticing a lot of eye contact between him and Kat. Could they potentially be a traitor duo? And I'm thinking, oh, poor Kat. She's going to get roped into this, isn't she? If he ends up being banished, it's going to make Kat look incredibly bad. So, that's not exactly the best look. But either way, Donna comes in and I'm thinking, yo, Donna, what you got for me today? What you got? She still thinks it's Noel. Oh, God. She basically says if Noel comes in today, he's a traitor. Because it came down to Noel and Ciale. And I was like, really? Are we going this hard after Noel? Still. At this point, are we still going after this guy? Jeez, this guy can't catch a break. He can't. And it's so unfortunate. I really wanted more for him, but he's definitely going to get banished when it comes down to, well, we just have to see. Which is always so frustrating. But either way, the group genuinely doesn't believe that there was a murder last night. They believe that because the shield was kept a secret, Kat had one and then somebody else got one, Ben. That person must have been the person they attempted to murder. So really, this should be a good move for Ben. So why is it a good move for Ben, you might ask? Well, this is exactly the kind of play that Harry used in UK Season 2 when he had the shield, nobody knew he had the shield, and then he decided to recruit somebody and then come into breakfast the next day and be like, oh, they must have tried to kill me last night because I had the shield. Boom, shows he's a faithful. Other people might be suspicious, but most people will think he is a faithful, and it's hidden a recruitment at the same time. It's kind of the perfect play as a traitor, but this was slightly different in the fact that he was made a traitor and had the shield. So it's a slightly different scenario, but it still ends up with the same result. It still makes Ben look innocent, and it still means that everybody doesn't know that there was a recruit last night. However, this is where things get a little bit tricky, because obviously Ben is wanting Kat to bring up the fact that he got a shield from her rather than him bringing it up, because it will sound more trustworthy coming from her. So he's trying to sort of gaslight her into being like, yo, you need to tell the group, but he doesn't want to push too hard because then that makes him look suspicious. He's kind of dancing that fine line between being pushy and being too hands off, and I feel like he was delicately treading, but he didn't quite manage to get his intended outcome. And this is going to be a recurring theme. They should have just brought up the shield. Oh my god, it's the perfect defense, surely. So another interesting moment was when Ben went to go talk to Ciale and basically said, hey, look, I did come after you at the round table yesterday, so I've got to keep up some kind of heat on you, otherwise that's going to make me look suspicious and it's going to make you look even more suspicious. So let's just say I'm going to throw a vote your way, but if I feel like the group is leading towards you, I won't, to try and keep you in. I was like, okay, cool. Ciale, in his confessionals, is like, right, guess I got to target Ben then. Huh? No. He's literally been on the job 1 day, man. Let's not go straight for him. Ciale, you're getting a little bit too big for your boots. You, man, have not been in that traitor turret for more than 2 days. Let's not forget. You have not visited there more than twice. Bailey hasn't visited there more than twice. So you do not get to pull these kind of moves. You are still a newbie, okay? Still a noob, okay? Thank you. Just because you got out the 4 originals and now we've got 3 more. Is this the most traitors we've ever had in a season? This could be. I'm fairly certain. I don't think I've ever seen 7 traitors in one season, because 7 out of like 20 is ridiculous numbers. But anyway, regardless, this team has been quite good at sussing them out, even though some of them have been traitor on traitor. But anyway, moving on. I just don't agree with Ciale going for Ben. Ben's reasoning for going after Ciale still makes sense, but Ciale just targeting Ben for the fun of it doesn't really. So the mission today was one that I was genuinely surprised they allowed on TV. I was like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about this. This is a little bit interesting. But essentially, it was an electric shock challenge. When I tell you they had electric chairs there, and they had to be strapped in, and they just received shocks for every wrong answer, I was thinking, this is some kind of medieval punishment. Obviously not with electrical shocks because they didn't have electricity back then, but this is some kind of cruel and unusual punishment. This is horrendous. And Donnie's over here. There was 4 and 4. I think Bailey, Jason, Ciale and Joe were the ones that sat down. The rest of them were all answering the questions. And the questions were sometimes quite tricky. How many steps are outside the house leading up to the front doorway? I don't fucking know. They lucked out. They got 7. There was another one that was asking Noel what was one of the things that he complained about whilst he was sat inside at the funeral. And he said there was lack of an open bar. I was like, yeah, I do remember that. That was quite funny, that challenge. That was the first challenge where I was like, this Noel guy is actually quite funny. He's actually quite entertaining. And I'm glad that he's stuck around because he's genuinely such a lovely bloke. And then a couple of the other questions were just random, ridiculous ones, like who got the very first, or who chose to get the very first shield, and it turned out to be Terry, but they guessed Utah, so they got the wrong person in the pair. It was just things like that that made this challenge so sort of like, this is actually unhinged and crazy, and genuinely funny. And then you've got everyone being like, and then you've got Jason just sitting there, just tanking every single shot, because he's like, yeah, I've been through this in the army. I'm used to this. This is absolutely chill and fine. Jason actually is a goat. I really like Jason. He's so funny. He's so entertaining. And the fact that he was just sitting there tanking all of these shocks, I don't think anybody else could do that, you know? This man's mental. So a couple of interesting things to talk about before we head into the round table. Donna is starting to get suspicious about Bailey purely because she's like, oh, why am I still here, guys? We're starting to play the why am I still here card. And honestly, more often than not, the why am I still here card is easily explained by the fact that you're dumb. You're stupid. You haven't had a single good thought the entire game. That is why you're being kept around. It's not because you're close to any traitors. It's because you're constantly going after Noel and nobody else is. So whilst you're keep on creating that chaos over there, you're not being alerted to any new traitors. That's why you're being kept around, Donna. Don't mistake it for the fact that Bailey's keeping you around. She's only been on the job 2 days. She's only had 1 chance to murder you. So really, you need to... Well, she had 2. No, she had 1 because they recruited last night. There's been 1 chance to murder you. Okay, so Bailey has not been keeping you around. Okay, it's just because you're thick. And I'm sorry to be that person, but you are. There was an absolutely hysterical moment between Kat and Ciale. They sat down and Kat was basically just ribbing him and taking the piss out of him and being like, oh, what's your traitor's cloak look like? Oh, do they serve snacks up in the turret? This kind of gameplay is funny to me because it very easily could have slipped him up, but it didn't. And he was just laughing along and was like, oh yeah, I might put being a traitor on my CV. Ha 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 ha. They were pissing themselves laughing. And especially this late in the game, we don't get to see the funny side of the traitors very often. At the start, it's very haha, funny, getting to know everybody. But the later you get in the series, the more dramatic it is, the more tense it is, the more you can't trust anybody. But I liked this moment as a little bit of a juxtaposition to that. So, heading into this round table, I'm unsure where the votes are going to lie. I just don't know what's going to happen. And I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit concerned, I would say, about what is going to happen. So, essentially, we end up in a position where Kat is going after Ciale. Ciale is going after Ben. Ben is trying to put it back on Ciale, and somehow Ben goes home? I was a little bit confused. I was a little bit blown away by this whole process, but you know what? Let's get into it. Kat starts on Ciale. Listen, you said at the start you set a trap for Whitney when you got those shields in episode, 2? The first mission, second mission? I can't remember. You set a trap for her. What was that trap? And he was like, oh, I don't know. And then she was like, well, was it successful? And he's like, I don't know. Why do you not know? Ciale, you set a trap for her to see whether she would take the bait by putting yourself in the same position. That doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Like, it actually just blows me away that that was his defense. But then Bailey comes to his defense and basically goes, hey, do you really think that Ciale was a day 1 traitor? Because let's look at it this way. We've banished 4 people. We banished Jackie early on. She was an OG. Whitney early on. OG. Mike, probably an OG. And we're even certain that Jane was probably an OG, like a OG traitor. And I was like, you know what? She brings up a fantastic point. This is why reaching all the way back to the start of the competition sometimes doesn't yield the best results. And the fact that Kat is clinging on to this whole trap for Whitney thing from episode 2, it just doesn't give me faith in her argument. She's right. He is a traitor. And it is weird that he doesn't mention the blackmail thing, but we'll come on to that again. But the things that she's using, they don't make him a traitor because he wasn't one at the time. So that's what Bailey's trying to say. But then Kat turns this back on her, does a pivot and goes, why are we using the word certain? We're not certain of anything. And Bailey's like, oh, did I use the word certain? Oh, no, that's not what I meant. And Kat just basically harped on about the fact that we shouldn't be using the word certain. Nobody can be certain in this game. And I was like, yeah, fair point. But equally, you can make assumptions in this game. You're making an assumption that he's a traitor based off of this one bit of intel that you have. So therefore, it's not ridiculous to think about, well, what if he wasn't a traitor? What if he was made a traitor later on? Would that still fit in? Why was he doing that? But Ciale's just not giving good enough answers, because then they bring up the conversation again about the blackmail, and I just sit there and I think, what are we doing here? We've been over this. He can't remember. You can. You're claiming he said it. He's claiming he didn't. We know he said it. We know he's lying. But there's only so much we can talk about with this before I'm like, leave it alone. Come up with some new evidence. The fact that he's changed. He's becoming more vocal around the round table. He's not being led by others. He's the one leading the charges. It means that he has some kind of power in this game that he didn't have before. That's the kind of thing you've got to be thinking. Oh my god. It's so jarring. So unbelievably jarring. But then we move on to Ben. And this is where I think Ben has been absolutely thrown to the wolves here. And I feel really, really bad for him. He was asked by Jason, yo, your relationship with Jane, when she left, you didn't seem affected and you didn't seem shocked. And he was like, well, no, I was shocked and I was disappointed in her because we did have a close ally in her. And therefore, I liked her and she brought warmth to the game, etc., etc. And he's defending himself decently, better than Cialy in his, I don't know. I can't give you a straight answer on that. Oh, I don't know. Cialy's insulated himself very, very well with good allies. That's why he's still here. Ben has lost all of his allies. He's alone currently. The only person he has on his side is Kat. And I'm sorry, but Kat, you're doing the best you can, but Cialy's too well insulated. It's disappointing, I know, but it is what it is. And Ben's just like getting attacked from all angles. Everyone's going for him. Joe's going for him. Jason's going for him. Cialy, Bailey, they're all harping on at him. And he's just sat there like, what is happening right now? Even Noel voted for him in the end. And I'm sitting here thinking, why didn't you mention the shield? Of all the things that could have proven your innocence or attempted to prove your innocence, why didn't you bring up the fact that you had the shield last night? So therefore, you are faithful. Use that. They must have tried to kill me last night because I had the shield. That's why there was no murder today. Why didn't he say anything? Was it cut? Was it just not deemed necessary? I don't understand. That would be my get out of jail free card, or at least I'd make it my get out of jail free card. I'd try it. I just didn't try hard enough, and that's what really disappointed me about Ben. It's what really upset me. So the votes fell as follows. Ben voted for Cialy. Cialy voted for Ben. Kat voted for Cialy. Joe voted for Ben. Donna voted for Noel. I mean, listen, Donna. You were asking why are you still here. It's because you keep voting for Noel. It's because you keep thinking it's Noel. Okay, that's why you're still here. Notice your track record for voting. You voted Noel an awful lot, and it's not Noel. So that's why they're keeping you around, because they can always guarantee you as just a non-vote for them. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, Jason voted for Ben. Noel voted for Ben. Bailey voted for Ben. So at the end of 8 votes, Ben had 5, Cialy had 2, Noel had 1. I said this at the start of the episode. I thought Ben was going to win the show. The way they were editing him, the way they made him out to be Jane's ally, betrayed by her, now a traitor. I'm convinced the traitors are winning this series. However, I also feel like there's just something in me that goes, could the faithfuls get lucky and just get them out? But I don't think anybody's going to get Bailey. Unless something drastic happens in the next couple of episodes. There's only 2 episodes left. Unless something drastic happens, I think she could survive. But then again, I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen. I'm disappointed that Ben was thrown to the wolves. He got Freddied after all, and that's a shame. But in his exit speech, he did say something that gives them a little bit of a clue. He said, only 1 day on the job, I'm a traitor. So that gives them the clue that there was a recruitment last night and that they're now down numbers. Does that make sense? Perfect. Right, that is pretty much all we got time for today. I mean, the only thing left to talk about is who they're going to kill. It was down to Donna, Kat, and Joe. I don't want Kat to die. I feel like that would be too obvious. It would lead back to Cialy. Donna could lead back to Noel, could get Noel banished. I don't know. But either way, amazing things are going to happen. I'm super excited. So, thank you guys very, very much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Do all that YouTube stuff that you guys do so unbelievably well. And I will see you guys in the next episode, whenever that may be. But until then, make sure to keep on ranting. And I will see you guys later. Bye now. See ya.